Okay, students, write down. Today we are going to see Bohr's atomic model. Okay, Neil Bohr's atomic model. That is Bohr's atomic model. Generally, are given three very important postulates. So, what is the first postulate? See here. Now, see here. This is a nucleus. What are these called? Shells. What revolves in the shells? Electrons. Okay. So this is called as shells or orbits. Sometimes we say it as stationary cells or stationary orbit. Why we say stationary here? What is revolving in these shells? Electrons are revolving, correct? Now, unless it is revolving in this shell, it will neither lose energy nor gain energy. So its energy remains constant. So okay, this electron is there here. Whenever it is revolving, its energy will neither, it will not change, means it will not absorb energy or it will not gain energy. That's why what we say stationary shell or stationary orbit. Okay, you know the first shell is called as K shell, then L, M, N, or we can say first shell, second shell, third shell, and fourth shell. So, what is the first postulate? That the energy of the shell or whatever electron revolves in this, they are called as shells, orbit, or stationary. Why stationary? Because while revolving, its energy will not change. That's why it is called as stationary. So, all of you write down the first postulate. Okay, आवाज येतोय का? Okay, so write down each stationary orbit is associated with each stationary orbit is associated with definite amount of energy. Each stationary orbit is associated with definite amount of energy. Therefore, this orbits are called energy level. These orbits are called energy level and number as 1, 2, 3, 4 or K, L, M, N. You can say first shell or you can say K shell. You can say second or you can say L shell. Okay, did you get this first point? Okay, now second point. Write down the second point. Electron can revolve electron can revolve only in those orbits electron can revolve only in those orbits whose angular momentum whose angular momentum is integral multiple whose angular momentum is integral multiple of h upon 2 pi, whose angular momentum is integral multiple of h by 2 pi. Now see here what this point means. Now they are saying which electrons can revolve in this orbit whose angular momentum. What is angular momentum? Now you know students, mass into velocity is momentum. Angular momentum, because it's revolving, so we say it even it has radius. So this is angular momentum that should be integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. If it is the integral multiple of h upon 2 pi, then only that electron will revolve in this orbit. Any electron will not revolve. Who will revolve? Whose angular momentum is equal to h upon 2 pi. Integral multiple means I'll write here small n. This n can be 1, 2, 3, 4. For first orbit, that n value will be 1. Second orbit, 2. Third orbit, okay. So for we can say first shell, for first shell, this is momentum, this r means this is angular momentum. So what will be the value of n? 1. So can I say 1 h upon 2 pi? So can I write 0.5 h upon pi? 1 by 2. So for second shell, mvr upon 2h upon 2 pi, is it correct? So can I write h upon pi? 2 will get cancelled. So at least for 4 shell you can write this. Did you get this? Now which electron will revolve in first shell whose angular momentum is h upon 2 pi or 0.5 h by pi? They will only revolve in first shell. Who will revolve in second shell? 2h upon 2 pi or h upon pi. They will only revolve in the second shell. So at least for 4 shell you write down this. Write down. So next one will be 3h upon 2 pi. Correct, no? That will be 1.5 h upon pi. So the electron can revolve when its angular momentum is equal to integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. Yes, done. For third shell, it will be 3h upon 2 pi, means it will be 1.5 h upon pi. For 4, it will be 4h upon 2 pi, means 2h upon pi. Correct? So what kind of questions are asked here? So I'll okay, write down the first question. What kind of question is asked upon this second postulate? Generally, how many postulates we are going to see? 3. In some books, there are more than 3, but these 3 are very important. First postulate was electron revolving in this fixed orbit, which is called as Shell's orbit or stationary orbit. Why it is called as stationary? unless it is revolving, it will neither gain energy or neither lose energy. But which electron can revolve whose angular momentum is integral multiple of h upon 2 pi? So for first shell, that n's value will be 1. So that electron who has angular momentum h upon 0.5 into h into pi, they will only revolve in first shell. Got it? Yes. So write down the question. First question, what is difference between angular momentum, I'll write shortcut AM, angular momentum of electrons into successive orbits. What is difference between angular momentum of electron into successive orbit? Now tell me what is the difference between this? Just tell me what is the difference between this? See, this one. This is 2h upon 2 pi. This is 1h upon 2 pi. So is difference h upon 2 pi? Or if you see this distance, 0.5 h upon pi. Either this option will be there or this option. These both are correct. If you see the difference between this, it is h upon 2 pi. If you see difference, here it is 1, here it is 0.5. So 1 minus 0.5 is 0.5 h upon pi. So these two options will be correct. In exam, either one will be there. So write down this. Yes, written? Yes. Okay. Write down the second question. Yes. Among the following, which angular momentum of electron among the following, which angular momentum of electron is valid? VALID, valid means possible. Which are valid? So I'll give you some options here. You tell me this is valid or not. So first option, 2h upon 2 pi. 2h upon 2 pi. Is it valid?
Yes.
Yes. It is definitely possible. 2h upon 2 pi. Here. Second. Okay. B. 0.25 h by pi. Here it is, when it is h by pi, either it will be 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. Is 0.25 possible? No, so this is not valid. Third one, 1.33 h upon 2 pi. No, because push rate itself says it should be integral multiple. When it is h upon 2 pi, the values of n should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It will be never in points. So this is not valid. Next one. Yes, write down these options. 2h upon 3 pi. No, it is not possible. 0.5 h upon 2 pi. No. H upon pi is possible. H upon 2 pi is not possible. When h upon 2 pi is there, you should remember the second postulate. It will be always integral multiple. This is possible. But this is not possible. This was possible. H upon pi is possible. So it is 0.51, 1.52, 2.5. But when it is here 2, this number should be always integer. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it? Okay, last one. H upon pi. Yes, possible. Here. When it is h upon pi, 0.5, 1, 1.5. When it is h upon 2 pi, it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like this question can be asked. Got it? So second postulate everyone understood? Those electrons can revolve whose angular momentum is integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. Got it? Okay, write down the third one. Third postulate. Electron absorbs energy. Electron absorb energy and jump from lower shell to higher shell. It jump from lower shell to higher shell and emits energy when it moves from higher shell to lower shell, and emits energy when it moves from higher shell to lower shell. Okay, see here now. This is a nucleus. So this is first shell, second shell, third shell, fourth shell, and electrons are there. In different shell, electrons are there. Okay. Now, which electron is more stable? The electron which are close to the nucleus will be more stable, because nucleus is having positive charge. Electrons are having negative charge. Electrostatic force of attraction will be there. So which one will be more stable? Which is much closer. Which goes far will be unstable. Okay. Now, suppose if we provide the energy to this electron, because this electron is stable, will not move from its position, correct? No, it will continuously revolving in this shell. But if you give energy, suppose h mu, that is sunlight, if you give energy to this electron, what will happen? Its energy will increase, means this electron will absorb energy. Means its energy will increase, means it will jump to outer shell. Now either it will go in this shell, or more energy if you go, it will go to this shell. More energy you give, it will go to outermost shell. So when electron is revolving in this orbits, we say it is in ground state. But if you provide the energy, what will happen? This electron will absorb energy. Its energy will increase. So it will break this force of attraction. It will break this force of attraction and it will jump to higher shell, that is outermost shell. So when electron will jump in outermost shell, when it absorbs energy. Are you getting it? Still we don't give this energy, we say electron is in ground state. Electron is in, if we give energy to it, its energy will increase and it get excited. So we say excited state. Which state we say? So if you provide energy to this electron, it will jump to the outer shell, not outermost, outer shell. It can come till here. But if you give more energy, it can go till here. If you give more energy, then it will go till here. But now tell me, if electron has come here, here or here, will it be stable or unstable? Unstable. So it will return back. It will return back. But while returning back, how much energy it has absorbed, that much energy it will give out. Are you getting it? Electron will be always stable near the nucleus. But if you provide the energy, if you give photon, a source of energy, then what will happen? Its energy will increase. So it will go to outermost shell. Outer shell, if you provide more energy, it will go to outermost shell. But again, it will return back. But while returning back, what it will do? It will emit the energy. Now read the statement. When electron absorbs energy, it will jump from inner shell to, and when it emits energy, emit means when it gives energy out, what will happen? From higher shell to lower shell. So in chemistry, when they are saying the electron is excited, then you should understand. Okay, we have given some energy. That energy it has absorbed. So from ground state it has jumped to higher state, that is excited state. Understood? Unless we are not giving energy, it is always in ground state. But if you provide energy in the form of h mu, I am providing energy, so it will increase the energy. When it increases the energy, it will jump to higher shell from K, L, from L, M, or from K directly to N also it can jump. It depends upon how much energy you are providing. More energy you provide, it will go in the outermost shell. If you provide less energy, second shell, third shell. So can I say electron is in this shell? Can I say it is in first shell? When it jumps to the second shell, can I say first excited state? If electron is in second shell, and if I say if first excited state means it will go to third shell. Understood? Because in numerical you will require this. What is first excited state? What is second excited state? What is third excited state? From electron, if it jumps from first shell to second shell, we say first excited state. From second, if its first excited state will be, it will go to third. In third, first excited state means it will go to fourth. Any problem? Okay, so once more you read that third postulate. Third postulate is very easy. When electron absorb energy, it will jump from lower shell to higher shell. And when it emits energy from higher shell to, and I told you where it is more stable, near the nucleus. Near the nucleus. So three main postulates I had given. So I'll repeat the three main postulates here. Electron revolves in the fixed orbit or shells, or we can say stationary orbits or stationary energy level. Why it is called as stationary? Because until that electron is revolving in that particular orbit, it will neither absorb energy or nor emit energy. Can I say it is in ground state that time? Second, which electron can revolve in the particular shell whose angular momentum is integral multiple of h upon 2 pi? Any electron cannot revolve in different orbits whose angular momentum is nh upon 2 pi, where n is number of orbit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or anytime you have seen number of orbit is 1.5, 2, 2.5. No, it will be always integral multiple. And third postulate, when electron absorbs energy, it will jump from lower shell to higher shell, and when it emits energy, if from higher shell it comes to the lower shell. That means what can I say like this? Whenever it jumps from here, now here it is quite stable, correct? Okay, in class also we see some students are very much stable. Means now this electron is stable. And in class you see those students are highly unstable, they will not sit on one place. They will just keep on moving here and there. They are highly unstable. But those who are stable, focused, they are close to the nucleus. They are close to the nucleus, or they are close to their target, whatever is their JE, JE mains, JE advanced. They are stable. But in every class, some excited students are there. Like electron, they are excited. So never they will be stable because energy is more. So can I say less energy, stability will be more. Energy will be less near the nucleus. Now here, now out of you, some students I can see who is having very less energy. They are not bothered anything. They are simply sitting. Sir, whatever you tell, that's correct. Because the energy is very low. So they are least stable, least excited. But some students are too much excited. Before some students are then I write the question, immediately they will give the answer, whether it's right or wrong. They will never think. They are excited. So the electrons which are having less energy are more stable and they will be always close to the nucleus. So can I say energy will go on increasing as we move from inner shell to outer shell? Who is more stable? Those are close to the nucleus. Their energy will be less. Sometimes they say arrange it in increasing order, arrange it in decreasing order. You should understand where near the nucleus energy will be always less. If you go away from it, energy will increase. Got it? So these are the three main postulates, but three applications we need to see. What are the three applications? Write down. Calculation of radius. Calculation of radius. Calculation of radius. Okay, this is nucleus, correct? Students, this is, and this is electron. From this point to this point, we say radius. From this point to this point, we say radius. Now here you see positive charge is there. Here positive charge is there. And here what is there? Negative. There will be some force of attraction between them. What is that called? Electrostatic force of attraction. It is electrostatic force of attraction. So I'll write force of attraction. That is electrostatic force of attraction. Always that is given by formula K Q1 Q2 upon R square. K Q1 Q2 upon R square. R square is this distance separating them. So in some books they have written as D. So here we have used R square. What is this Q? This is charge on first particle. What is this Q? Q2 charge on second particle. Now this is plus, means is it an atomic number? For every, suppose if I say sodium, how many protons will be there? So here protons will be 11. How many neutrons? 12. But is there any charge because of neutron? No. Instead of sodium, if I take magnesium, 1224. Now protons will be, means for every atom this number of protons will go on changing. So can I directly write Ze? Z means atomic number. E means charge. Charge of electron, you know, minus 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. So that is Ze. This is the charge on electron. So instead of Q1 and Q2, can I substitute this? So it will be Q1. Instead of that, I'll put Ze. And here E. R square. So instead of this, I can write Ze square upon R square. This is the electron. Electron charge, you know, 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. This is Ze. So Ze square. Yes. So because of this force of attraction, the electron is pulled inwards. Nucleus is pulling that electron inwards. And do you know, students, what is pulling it outwards? There is one force in physics you learn, centrifugal force. Electrostatic force is pulling it inside. Centrifugal force, it is pulling it outside. So centrifugal force is given by mv square upon r. mv square upon r. So electron should revolve in this particular orbit. For that, force of attraction and centrifugal force should be balanced. Are you getting it? What I am saying? The electron is pulled inside because of this force, electrostatic force of attraction, and it is thrown out because of, when these both forces are balanced, then it will move like this. Are you getting it? Yes. So these two forces will be balanced. Which two force? Force of attraction should be balanced with force of centrifugal. Okay, this much you write down fast. Done. Okay. So tell me what equation we got. If we equate these two, k z e square upon r square, that is equal to m v square upon r. Is anything cancelled? This r and this r will cancel. So can you tell me the value of v square? This m will come and divide here. So k z e square upon m. What is the value of v square? So m here it is multiplying, here it will go and divide. So this is the value of v square. R is left, no? Yes. So Rm. Yes, correct. One R is left. Here one R is cancelled. Yes, correct. Now, why I removed v square? You'll understand why I removed v square, because Bohr's second postulate. What is Bohr's second postulate? Now, don't see in the notebook. You tell me what is Bohr's second postulate. Electron will revolve only when its angular momentum is equal to integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. So write down according to Bohr's second postulate. According to Bohr's second postulate, MVR is equal to NH upon 2 pi. Is it correct? What is this MVR, angular momentum, integral multiple of H upon 2 pi. This is Bohr's second postulate, no? From this, can we remove the value of V? V is equal to, tell me. I removed the value of V, but here what value I removed? V square. So can I square it? So I can equate it. So tell me, V square is equal to N square S square upon M square R square 4 pi square. This is the equation second. This is the equation first. Now you understood why I removed V square. So from here also I can remove V square and I can equate them. Yes. Now equate these two. K Z E square upon Rm, that is equal to what is here? N square S square upon M square R square 4 pi square. You see what is being cancelled? This one R will go, here one R will go, here M will go. Then write down whatever is left. K Z E square N square S square upon M R 4 pi square. So finally, because our heading is radius of, what was our heading? Calculation of radius. So can I remove R here? So that will be the formula of radius. So what will be R? N square S square upon M R, and this will go there. M R into K Z E square. Now students, tell me in this what things are constant? This N square means number of orbits. Number of orbits don't be constant, no. If they say second orbit, if they say third orbit, we'll put the value. If they say second orbit, N's value we'll put 2. If they say third orbit, third, fourth, S square, Planck's constant. So this is constant. Mass is constant. Radius will be constant. This K value is constant. Its value is 9 into 10 raised to 9. This Z will change. If I say helium, we'll say atomic number 2. If I say lithium, we'll say 3. If I say boron, we'll say 5. If I say carbon, you'll say 6. Okay, so this and this is variable. Which one? N square and Z. Other all are. So students, no need to remember this all derivation. Directly now I'll put the values that formula you remember. But sometimes they give this radius formula. Once it was asked this formula, and they said which of the following radius, both radius formula are correct. So you should know at least n square s square upon mr into kz square. No need to solve this because already they have put all constant value. Only which is variable? This n square and z is variable. So directly they have solved and they got the answer. Write on the answer. R is equal to 0.53 into n square upon z. This you will get in Armstrong. Finish this. Only this much formula you need to remember. 0.53 into n square upon z. What is n? Number of orbit. What is z? Z is atomic number. Z is any problem? Why I showed this complete derivation? Because once this was asked in exam. But for solving, you need to use this 0.53 into n square upon z. That will be in Armstrong. Okay. So can you find the value for, okay, before that, where we have written Bohr's atomic model. There you one star point you write down everyone. Where you are written heading Bohr's atomic model. There you write down this theory is applicable. This theory is applicable for one electron species or single electron species you write for single electron species. Means whatever this much postulates we have discussed now, that is only applicable for single electron. That is applicable only for. So is it applicable for hydrogen? Bohr's theory is only applicable for single electron. So is it applicable for hydrogen? Yes. Helium, what is the atomic number? 2. But is it applicable for helium plus? Yes, helium plus means what? Out of 2 electrons, 1 electron we have removed. So how many electrons is left? Lithium, how many electrons? 3. Is it applicable for lithium 2 plus? Barium, what is the atomic number? 4. Is it applicable for 3 plus? Boron, what is the atomic number? 5. So is it applicable for 4 plus? This theory is only applicable for single electron. Always remember, this theory is only applicable for single electron species. So can I say, suppose it's sodium. Sodium is 11. So can I say sodium 10 plus? This theory is not applicable for 2 electrons. It is only applicable for 1 electron. For this, so this formula you know, correct? So can you find radius of differentials for hydrogen? What I'm saying, can you find radius of differentials for hydrogen? Just find it. Radius of differential of hydrogen. So for first shell, here n's value will come 1 and z atomic number is 1 only. So directly answer will come 0.53. Yes or no? Yes. So for second shell, what we are doing? Okay, hydrogen is having one shell. But what? Okay, yes, correct. Hydrogen is having only one shell. But if it is now different, suppose lithium is there, sodium is there. So can we find the radius of different shells? Yes, find it. Radius of different shells. Okay, see here. This is nucleus, correct? This is first shell. As you said, only hydrogen is having one electron. But can we see, say, from nucleus, how much distance the second shell is there? Okay, though it won't have the electrons, but can we find the distance? So here, 2 square. Z is 1 only. So 0.53 into 4. That will be radius of second shell. Then third shell, 3 square. 9 upon 1. Then fourth, 16. Because the question they will ask you, what is the difference between radius of first shell and second shell and third shell and, so at least 3 you find out. First already we have found out 0.53, second 2 square means it will come 4. 0.53 into 4 how much? 1 point, just little louder. For only hydrogen 2.12. Everyone got that? Yes. See here, again I am telling you, see here. You are thinking that hydrogen is having only one shell. Okay, this is nucleus. This is, but we just imagine that how much distance the second shell will be there. There won't be any nucleus. Sorry, there won't be any electron. But will this electron jump in this? If we provide energy, will it jump? So how much far it is there? At least that much we can calculate. So Z will remain 1 only because it is hydrogen. But this will change. First orbit 1, second orbit value will be 2, third orbit 3. So can you calculate the value? At least 3 values. 4.76 something will be there. Okay, when I calculate this here, first one is 0.53, correct? Second one is 2.11. Third one is 4.76. Okay, 77. Then next one is 8.46. 8.4. Whatever is there, something in front I did not find. Okay. Now if the question is asked, what is the difference? Write down. What is the difference? Or what is the distance you write down? What is the distance between first and second shell? What is the distance between first and second shell? How you will calculate it? R2 minus R1. This one, this distance. This is first shell, this is second shell. What is the difference? R2 minus R2, how much you got? 2.11. And R1, 0.53. So is it 1.58? Check. See here, if you are not understanding, please ask. You have found the radius of first shell. You have found the radius of second shell. I am saying how much is this gap. So always you do R2 minus R1. So how much it will be there? It will be something 1.58. Yes, 1.59. Okay, next type of question, which is every time asked. Write down the question. What is the radius ratio? What is the radius ratio? What is the radius ratio of first, second, and third shell? What is the radius ratio of first, second, and third shell of hydrogen? Now, for hydrogen, this Z will be 1 only. Only this N square will change. Okay, for first shell, you tell me what 0.53 into 1 square. Ratio we need to find out, correct? No? So for second, 0.53 into 2 square. For third one, 3 square. So this will be cancelled. So 1 square by 2 square by 3 square. So this will be the radius ratio. Because this will be cancelled. One is to 4 is to 9. Okay, similar one question I will give you. So first you write down this and tell me when you are finished. Finished? Okay. Write down the question. Radius ratio. Find the radius ratio. Find the radius ratio of second shell of hydrogen. Second shell of. Find the radius ratio of second shell of hydrogen and fourth shell of helium plus. And fourth shell of helium plus. Fourth shell of helium plus. Is this applicable for helium plus? Yes. Because how many electrons are there? This theory is only applicable for 1 electron. So helium plus means 1 electron only. Find the radius ratio for second shell of hydrogen and fourth shell of helium plus.
One is to two.
Yes, very good. You have given the answer. You calculate. Yes, Pranjal, correct. I don't know what kind of calculations you are doing. It's very easy. 0.53 into which was the hydrogen shell? 2 square upon 1. That is equal is to 0.53 and helium which shell? 4 means 4 square upon 2. 4 square means that will be 16. 16 by 2 means it will be 8. Here it will be 4. 4 is to 8. This 1 is to 2. Here.
Yes, 1 is.
All of you pay attention here. Helium, which shell they said? Second shell of hydrogen and fourth shell of helium plus. So 0.53 into this is n value means 2 square upon 1 because Z is atomic number of hydrogen 1 and for helium 0.53 into 4 upon atomic number of helium 2. So 0.3 cancel 2 square 4 square 16 by 2. So 4 by 8. So 1 by 2. Got it? That is very easy. So instead of helium, they will say some other species. But always you need to remember whatever Bose has told, he has told only for single electron species. So it will be lithium 2 plus because lithium atomic number is 3. 2 plus means only 1 electron it is having. extreme sodium example also I had given you, sodium 10 plus. Got it? Okay, next point is velocity that we'll see tomorrow. Okay, but tell me now. Okay, what are the Bohr's different postulate? First thing is that this Bohr's concept is only applicable for single electron space, whatever it is there. Its first postulate was there that different electrons are moving in different shell or different orbits, but it is called a stationary because unless and until the electron is revolving in particular shell, it will neither absorb energy nor lose energy. Sarthak. So it will not lose energy or it will not gain energy when it is revolving in the different shells, orbits or stationary orbit we can see. Second, which electron can revolve? Whose angular momentum is equal to integral multiple of h upon 2 pi, means mvr is equal to nh upon 2 pi. So n means for different orbits you can calculate n is 1. So either it will be 1 h upon 2 pi, or it will be 2h upon 2 pi, 3h upon 2 pi, or it will be 0.5 h upon pi, 1 h upon pi, 1.5 h upon pi, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, so on. And third, when electron absorbs energy, it will jump from lower shell to outermost shell. Outer shell or outermost shell we can say. But whenever it emits energy, means energy is given out, it will return back from higher shell to, and where it is more stable, near the nucleus. Means near the nucleus, its energy will be less. I told you, less energy, more stable. More energy, that is unstable. More energy, they are unstable. So once it was asked question, from nucleus to outermost shell, energy goes on increasing. Energy goes on increasing. Got it? Because close to the nucleus, that electron will be more stable. If it is more stable, it will have less energy. Got it? So tomorrow we'll see the velocity and energy. That time when you calculate energy for first shell, second shell, third shell, automatically you'll understand. Okay, second shell's energy is more than first, then third, then fourth, and so on. Okay, thank you.